Yo, what's good? NBA YouTube. It's your man 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. And today I want to do a special episode about the NBA draft. This is not just going to be about the upcoming NBA draft or the recent NBA draft, but just hopefully by the end of this video, you all have a greater enlightenment and insight into what the draft is and isn't for your teams. If you like this video, smash that like button for me, hit subscribe and the bell for notification, and definitely feel free to comment and follow me on Twitter at Rock Never Stops 2. First of all, let's start by saying that the NBA draft is not a simple process. And when I say it's not a simple process, there are many variables to consider. One must think about the positioning of your team, their salary cap, where they are in terms of their pursuit for winning a championship or being in the playoffs or being in the lottery. You have to consider who the head coach is. You have to consider the talent of the potential prospect, their skill level, their winning and overall basketball IQ, and their winning acumen, I meant to say. All these things must be considered as you think about who is the right pick for your team. I keep seeing a lot of these NBA redrafts, and they're a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun. Who would go first, who would go second, based upon how players are currently performing. But many times what we leave out is the situation that a player lands in after they are drafted. We have to understand that these players do not get to choose where they are drafted. Now, they can do little things like shut down workouts and not work out for certain teams. They can ask teams not to draft them. But at the same time, where they land is going to completely, and not completely, but it will play a major part in dictating the opportunities that they receive. For example, Josh Jackson, coming out of the University of Kansas, or Kansas University, was ranked higher than Jason Tatum. For all intents and purposes, he was a more talented prospect. Better defender, better playmaker, had a little bit more intensity, and had really good ability to get to the rim and finish, great athleticism, had all the intangible tools. Jason Tatum was a smooth scorer, and they were both elite players. But Josh Jackson asked the Boston Celtics not to draft him, specifically because he wanted to go to Phoenix instead because there was an opportunity to play immediately, potentially winning Rookie of the Year. Jason Tatum was willing to go to Boston, but didn't necessarily think that at the time that was the best opportunity for him. Why? Because Gordon Hayward was still there. Jaylen Brown was still there. So he was going to come in with multiple players at his position, still playing at a high level, and that the team was going to have a high investment in. Remember, Gordon Hayward was just signed there to play with Kyrie Irving. So you have to think to yourself, had Jason Tatum gone there and had to sit behind Gordon Hayward, if he doesn't get injured, how that would have impacted the outlook of his career, right? When we look at the current draft, you look at guys like Evan Mobley, right? Scotty Barnes, Jalen Green, Cade Cunningham, and these guys, and we want to shuffle around and say like, well, this guy would have definitely gone first. But you have to understand that a big part of Evan Mobley's emergence has been being able to play under the tutelage of a head coach like J.B. Bickerstaff, who was innovative enough to say, you know what, I can trot out 3 7-footers and 2 small guards. I'm going to do something that the NBA doesn't do. And I'm going to create an opportunity where there wasn't one. I see Evan Mobley's defensive versatility as an opportunity to do something unique instead of trying to fit him into a mold. You look at somebody like James Wiseman, who was drafted by the Golden State Warriors, number 2 overall, could have easily gone number 1 had he not been suspended by the NCAA and been able to play out a full season for the University of Memphis. Probably would have continued to develop at a higher level as well. But a lot of people say, well, they should have grabbed LaMelo Ball. Would LaMelo Ball have gotten more playing time for the NBA championship desiring high skill level basketball IQ system of the Golden State Warriors, where Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson were already there, and they had Jordan Poole. LaMelo Ball's dad was even quoted saying he did not want him to go to Golden State because he knew he wasn't going to get the same opportunity. Was LaMelo going to take the ball out of Draymond Green's hand or Stephen Curry's hand to be able to show what he can do? How would it have played out differently if James Wiseman had been drafted to the Charlotte Hornets, where even to this day, they are in dire straits trying to find a legitimate NBA starting center? Well, if the offense was ran through James Wiseman, and he was given every opportunity to show what he can do, which he was not given in Golden State, would we not be looking at the contrary and saying, wow, Golden State should have never passed up on James Wiseman? Right? These are the things that you have to consider. This is why it's a really precarious argument to say who was better than who should have been drafted instead of who. This is where oftentimes we get caught up in these arguments, right, that really don't consider all the different variables. So in this lottery right now, we've got some, prime picks. But you have to ask yourself, who is the best fit for your team? When you look at somebody like Tyrese Halliburton, drafted by the Sacramento Kings, great prospect, can't miss, as about as can't miss as there was a couple years ago. A lot of people saw his skill set and was like, wow, we would love to have him on our team. But who drafts him? The Sacramento Kings. Who do they already have at his natural position of point guard? De'Aaron Fox. Was his opportunities the same? No. No, not even in the least bit. And he was still a runner-up for Rookie of the Year. Now that we see him traded to the Indiana Pacers, we're really seeing what he can do when he's the unquestioned floor general leader. Shout out to the Indiana Pacers, great trade. And watch out, Malcolm Brogdon might be on the trading block soon. But it's to say, in a different situation, you begin to see a different type of player emerge. So now when we fast forward to this upcoming draft, we got to think about fit. We've got to think about fit. We've got to think about who is going to thrive best in what type of a system. Matisse Thybulle, Tyrese Maxey went to a veteran-laden Philadelphia 76ers team. What did they need more than anything? Youthful athleticism and defense. Things that these two players could apply and provide in spades at a high level. And so the demand for them on the court was high in the area where they were strongest in. Now, if these two had been asked to lead them into the playoffs last year, they would have never gotten playing time. They would have never been developed. Had they had a dearth of young athletic perimeter and wing players, they would have never been called upon. And yet we see their development over time, and we go, wow, these two are extremely talented. Extremely talented. Same with Herb Jones and Jackson Hayes. They get drafted to the New Orleans Pelicans, who essentially are not necessarily in win now mode, or had not been. And so they were able to get immediate playing time. They had a high need for young athletic defenders who were willing to play extremely hard within a team concept. Even Jackson Hayes, who was sent down to the G League to develop more confidence and skill level and more reps, because behind Jonas Valanciunas, whom he was playing, he was not going to get those minutes in that playing time. And yet, being with the G League team allowed him to develop his three-point shot, his ability to guard more versatile forwards, and then he gets called back up, and now he gets to play the power forward at 7 feet tall or 6'11", instead of being stuck or pigeonholed at the center position. This is the flexibility that some situations are going to provide you, that are going to allow players to have an opportunity to thrive. And this is what you have to consider as your team picks in this upcoming draft. What is the best fit based upon the skill level and the team needs? Paolo Banchero, right, has a lot of versatile perimeter game for somebody who's 6'10", 240 pounds. Right? He reminds me of a young Blake Griffin, not necessarily in athleticism and jumping ability, but in his overall skill set, his ability to play make and take you off the bounce from the perimeter. That he's far more of a face-up type interior player than he is a back to the basket. And yet, if a team like the Detroit Pistons drafts him, I don't know how he fits in with the 6'8" Cade Cunningham, 6'8" Sadiq Bey, 6'9" Jeremy Grant. And this team that kind of has a dearth of forwards who also can face you up, take you off the dribble, and are going to require having the ball in their hands. Might it be better to have somebody like a Jabari Smith, right? Or Chet Holmgren? These are the decisions that you're going to have to make. It's not just about talent. It's about what does your team need. It also depends upon who is going to be doing the developing. If you're Minnesota Timberwolves drafting somebody like a Chris Dunn and Zach LaVine, you probably don't want to also bring in a head coach like Tom Thibodeau, who hates playing young guys, who does not focus on their development, but focuses more on playing the veterans so he can win now. He requires high basketball IQ because he's not the best offensive coach. And he needs you to understand what you're doing so that when he gives you a high demand on defense, you're not messing things up. Not a good situation for a young, talented player who's still developing. God knows what that would have looked like if you had a Jalen Green or Jonathan Kuminga on a New York Knicks or Minnesota Timberwolves, where Tom Thibodeau was at previously. And now, as we look ahead to even one of the more storied picks, the Chet Holmgren pick, probably the biggest asterisk that many teams are going to have to ask, do they really want to bank their jobs on saying pick this guy? It's not that he's not talented, but it's about fit. If you have space for a versatile forward to be able to defend the rim, score on the perimeter, and you have somebody else to do the banging down low, this might be a great pick. If you need somebody to guard Joel Embiid, you better not do it. So I want to know what you guys think. What do you guys think about the NBA draft? What do you think that your favorite team is going to do in this draft? Based on what I shared, how do you think it's going to play out? Based upon who you think that they should draft. All right? Holler at me on Twitter, Rock Never Stops 2. And I hope you all enjoyed this video. Just a little insight to think about as this draft comes up in the next few months. Peace.